I kept a handsome merman in captivity. His tears were pearls that could fetch a hefty sum. One day, as I was forcing him to cry as usual, a barrage of comments suddenly appeared before my eyes. LOL. The male lead wanted to confess his love to the female lead, but ended up getting knocked out by her, taken home, and bullied every day, even having his tears sold for money. Poor guy, truly tragic. The female lead has no idea that the male lead is actually the prince of the mermaid clan. If she became his princess consort, she'd enjoy endless wealth and luxury, yet, she insists on tying him up and beating him every single day. What's more, the female lead always strikes the middle of his fish tail. Doesn't she know what's there? Just thinking about it makes me ache for the male lead. Upstairs, I don't think the male lead is necessarily in pain. It's clearly pleasure. If you don't believe me, look. The moment the female lead stops, he actively rubs his fish tail against her hand. I paused my hand mid-strike on the fish tail. The mermaid before me still wore an expression of extreme shame and indignation, yet secretly arched her back, offering her tail forward. At that moment, another line of bullet comments floated by, looking forward to seeing the female lead earn enough money to ditch the male lead, only for him to unleash his beastly nature and bully her to tears every day. Poor female lead, still completely unaware. I shuddered. How did the barrage know that I planned to release Bruce back into the sea after selling the last few pearls? Before I could figure it out, Bruce's cold voice rang out. Pearls are very precious to merfolk. No matter how much you torment me, I will never give them to you. Instinctively, I raised my hand again and brought it down hard on the middle of his tail. He let out a muffled groan, his slender fingers gripping the edge of the bathtub tightly. His face was flushed, his eyes glistening with moisture. After holding back his tears, he still looked at me with a stubborn expression. Is this all you've got to make me cry? Give it up. We merfolk don't yield so easily. The barrage of comments appeared again. The male lead is even using reverse psychology now. He obviously loves being hit by the female lead. If he didn't, he'd have swatted her away with his tail long ago. Merfolk are incredibly strong. I can confirm, he's literally crying from pleasure. Every time, he stubbornly holds back his tears just to prolong the female lead's bullying. Only when he's had enough fun does he finally give her pearls. TSK, what a scheming merman. My hand froze mid-air. Did he actually enjoy being hit by me like this? Seeing me stop, Bruce subtly arched his back, his tail actively brushing against my hand. I looked down. Your tail. Bruce's stubborn expression nearly faltered as he turned his head away and tightly shut his eyes. You hit too hard. My tail just reflexively twitched. I listened to his feeble explanation. It was almost laughable. The next second, I saw him secretly open his eyes a slit to peek at me. The barrage appropriately popped up. The tail bounced back. Ha. The male lead couldn't even come up with a decent excuse. Male lead's inner thoughts. Just a quick peek. Why isn't the female lead continuing to hit me? Understanding in my heart. I deliberately withdrew my hand and put on a disappointed expression. If you won't give me pearls, then let's end it here for today. With that, I turned to leave. Suddenly, a series of clattering sounds came from behind me. Bullet comments floated across the screen. LOL. The male lead thought the female lead didn't want him anymore and cried his heart out. Female lead, turn around. It's all your favorite big pearls. Turning around, she saw Bruce with reddened eyes, staring intently at the bathtub. Tears streamed down uncontrollably from the eyes, transforming into large pearls. They thudded heavily onto the floor. My heart leaped with joy. That's all money. Just as I was about to pick them up, the doorbell rang. Bruce instantly stopped crying, his expression as if facing a formidable enemy. The female lead's ex is harassing her again. The showdown is coming. It's coming. Oh ho. The male lead smells that annoying scent again. He's not even crying anymore. This expression, man's ready to fight, man's ready to fight. I frowned as I read the bullet comments. Turn around and remind Bruce. Stay here quietly, don't make a sound. He pressed his lips tightly together, stared at me for a long time before reluctantly nodding. I raised my hand and patted his head from a distance. Good boy. Bruce's face turned red again. I walked out to open the door. As soon as I opened it, Sam squeezed in. With a thud, he knelt down before me. Bella. I really know I was wrong. Let's get back together. The barrage of comments flashed before her eyes again. Bullshit. He's just a scumbag. Before coming to see the female lead today, he was still flirting online. The female lead must not soften her heart. When will this guy be written off? While pursuing the female lead, he was secretly chasing 5 other girls behind her back. Moreover, after pursuing her, he tried every possible way to get the female lead into bed and even bragged to his friends about tasting the flavor of an otaku girl. Utterly disgusting. The barrage of comments was filled with criticism, all condemning Sam. I clenched my fists tightly. I'm a comic artist myself, usually quite the homebody with few friends. I met Sam on a social media app. He kept complimenting my drawings. The characters you draw have so much soul. I'd love to resonate with you on a spiritual level. When we met in person, he appeared perfectly gentlemanly and pursued me intensely. I was completely charmed, but less than a week into our relationship, he subtly suggested going back to his place. After I refused, he got upset and put on a cold face. No sex, no relationship. You're so old-fashioned and conservative. Our love won't last. I almost fell for his brainwashing and gave myself to him, until that day, when I saw his phone, after we got together. He was still flirting with others of the opposite sex. The screen was filled with baby and kisses, too disgusting to look at. Turns out, I was just one of his many flirting targets. After that day, I broke up with him. He shed his previous gentleness and revealed his ugly true colors. Bella, have you thought this through? Your social circle is pathetically small. Who else would want you if you leave me? As it turned out, I didn't contact him for a whole month, and he panicked. To this day, he still occasionally comes to my house to harass me. Right now, I'm staring at the man kneeling and swearing, I really won't chat with the opposite sex anymore. I only like you. My gaze turned colder, and just as I was about to speak, another barrage of comments appeared. Don't believe him, heroine. He's just frustrated because he couldn't sleep with you. I saw it too. He was telling his buddies that once he sleeps with a shut-in girl, he'll dump her, saying he'd get bored after just one time with someone so dull. Anger surged in my heart. I kicked him away with all my strength. We're over, Sam, give it up. If you harass me again, I'll call the police. But he wouldn't relent and tried to grab my legs again. His strength was immense. I couldn't break free, and those hands began creeping up my thigh. A look of disgust crossed my face. Just as I was about to deliver a crushing blow to his head, a sudden noise came from the bathroom. Sam immediately released me and stood up to investigate. What's that sound? Did you hide someone in your house? I kept a straight face. No, it's my new dog. If you go in, I'll call the police. He stopped in his tracks, eyeing me suspiciously. Really? I pushed him impatiently. Right, can you leave now? Seeing this, he ingratiatingly grabbed my hand again. Bella, have you made up your mind yet? Think carefully. Once this opportunity is gone, it won't come back. I stared at our intertwined hands, a wave of nausea rising in me, and immediately pulled away. He was just about to speak. In the bathroom, even more violent movements could be heard, faintly mixed with a muffled groan from a man's voice. Sam's expression instantly changed. Bella, you actually hit a man in your house. As he spoke, he shook me off and rushed toward the bathroom. The bullet comments floated by. OMG. The male lead broke out of prison just to confront this scumbag. Tisk tsk, jumping out of the bathtub, his tail slamming heavily onto the floor. Looks painful. Feel bad for the male and female leads. Please don't let that scumbag in again in the future. Reading the third point, I feel a bit exhausted myself. Actually, I didn't want to let Sam in either. It's just that his harassment tactics are really annoying. If I don't open the door, he'll just keep knocking until the neighbors came to complain, and he's quite the actor. In front of everyone, he pretends to be deeply affectionate, to the point where the neighbors all try to mediate. Oh, young lady, this man seems really good to you. Why are you so determined to break up? Exactly, and a man's pride is worth more than gold. He's already knelt down begging for reconciliation. Auntie can tell he truly loves you. Such good men are rare these days. Just say yes. Besides, all this commotion is driving me crazy. If you'd just agreed earlier, none of this would have happened. Surrounded in the middle, my voice was no match for those aunties' loud chatter, and Sam, still putting on his act of how much he loves me. Once inside, he immediately changed his attitude, looking smug and triumphant. Bella, I know your address. If you don't agree to be with me, I'll keep bothering you until you can't stand it anymore. It made me sick to my stomach. I was actually planning to move out next week. With the money from selling Bruce's pearls, I directly bought an apartment in the city center. I even specially picked a larger bathtub for Bruce. Just didn't expect that before we could even move in. Sam came again today. Now, I watch his back as he walks toward the bathroom. Don't let him discover Bruce. If he sees a mermaid's tail, he might call the police and have Bruce taken to a research institute. I rushed forward to stop him. But the difference in strength between men and women was too great. He pushed me aside forcefully and opened the bathroom door first. The moment the bathroom door opened, Bruce was leaning against the wall. His wet, long hair clung to his body, and his silver fishtail swayed on the floor. Sam narrowed his eyes, sizing up Bruce. "What's this?" I rushed over and stood in front of Bruce. "It's just a mermaid-inspired makeup look." Suddenly, a barrage of comments appeared. "Damn," I read the scumbag's mind. "Bella looks innocent but plays harder than me, actually keeping a man at home, and doing mermaid roleplay. A threesome wouldn't be bad either. Gag, I'm gonna puke. Give me back my innocent eyes. So disgusting. Girls, keep your eyes wide open when dating." I stared at the barrage of comments, a strong sense of discomfort welling up inside me. Then, right in front of us, Sam actually started unbuttoning his shirt. "Bella, I never expected you to look like some chaste and virtuous woman while playing so wild behind the scenes. Since you're already dirty, what's the harm in letting me touch you? Stop pretending. You still like me, don't you?" Hearing these words, I was so furious that my blood seemed to boil in reverse. Before I could make a move, a silver fishtail, accompanied by splashing water, struck Sam hard across the face. Sam was sent flying like a rag doll, the back of his head hitting the wall with a loud thud. The barrage of comments suddenly exploded, finally satisfying. I was so tempted to jump in and give that scumbag a spinning 18-palm slap just now. The male lead is so badass. This scumbag is finally about to exit the stage. Bruce propped himself up with one hand on the ground, his usually smooth and flowing tail now taut like a drawn bow, the edges of his fins gleaming coldly. Sam lay convulsing on the floor, utterly disheveled. Trembling, he raised his phone. "There's a monster, I'm calling the police." With a sudden flick, Bruce lashed out with his tail. The entire tail fin suddenly contracted and transformed into a pair of slender human legs. The barrage froze for 2 seconds before erupting in excitement. "Wow, the tail is gone." The male lead's legs are so long, pale, slender, and perfectly straight. "I'm so jealous." "Ah, I'm jealous too, woo-woo." But is it really okay for the male lead to force a transformation like this? Upstairs, if I remember correctly, merfolk can only do this during mating season. Mating season, oh ho, the plot just leveled up. I didn't have time to check the comments, grabbing something to throw at Sam. Can't let him film Bruce. My wrist was suddenly grabbed. Bruce didn't know when he had pressed up behind me. His chest was against my back, his damp arms encircling my waist. "Don't look." His voice was unnaturally hoarse. His scorching breath blew against the back of my ear, damp and feverishly warm. Sam suddenly let out a pig-slaughtering scream. The phone screen he was holding up was melting, milky white mucus dripping down between his fingers. A bullet comment drifted eerily across the screen. "Mermaid venom gland secretion, specially designed to deal with peeping toms." My phone. Sam curled up in the corner, howling in pain, his corroded right hand a bloody mess. "I'll sue you for intentional assault." Bruce turned his gaze to Sam, his blue pupils narrowing into vertical slits. His originally clear and gentle voice was now laced with a beast-like growl. "Forget everything you saw today. Get out." Sam suddenly froze, his gaze gradually growing vacant as he staggered to his feet and headed for the door. After leaving, he even thoughtfully closed the door behind him. The barrage is scrolling wildly. Here it comes. It's mind control, the forbidden art exclusive to the royal merfolk. Oh no, the male lead forcibly transformed and used forbidden magic. Those old fossils at the bottom of the sea are bound to sense it. He sneaked out. After all, what if they drag him back by force? Please don't let him get caught. The important plot I've been waiting for hasn't even happened yet. I didn't have time to read the barrage carefully. Bruce had already collapsed weakly into my arms. His entire body was burning hot, with blood seeping from the scales on his waist and abdomen. At the end of his well-defined V-line, translucent webbed membranes flickered faintly in and out of sight. His damp eyelashes brushed against the side of my neck as he murmured, "Water," half dragging, half carrying him into the bathtub. I watched as the lower half of his body gradually took on the contours of a fish tail once more. Female lead, quickly touched the gland behind his ear. This can temporarily stabilize his form, but I remember touching a merman's gland might have side effects. Upstairs, I know what the side effects are, he. I glanced at the barrage of comments, my fingers traced Bruce's ears, searching inch by inch for the right spot. Bruce allowed my touch, his originally pale complexion now tinged with a faint blush. When my fingers brushed against that slightly raised, soft scale, he suddenly shuddered. A shimmering blue tail fin emerged from his tailbone, slapping heavily against the bathtub and splashing water everywhere. I was startled by his intense reaction. His eyes were red at the corners, his voice hoarse. "Don't touch." Those beautiful blue eyes were staring straight at me, glistening with moisture. "If you keep touching me, I'll enter the mating season early." But the look in his eyes was clearly filled with desire, so bewitching. I was stunned, my heart skipping a beat. It took me a long time to snap out of it. The wicked urge to tease rose within me, and I deliberately pressed that spot again with my fingertips. Bruce trembled once more, his entire face burning red. Oh my God, just a touch from the female lead on his gland, and the male lead is about to explode. I'm about to explode too. How can he be so alluring? Is he really a merman and not an incubus? Just touching the male lead causes such a big reaction. I can't imagine how it'll be when he interacts deeply with the female lead later. I stared at the bullet comments, my face turning red. I quickly withdrew my hand. Bruce tugged at the hem of my clothes again. His expression turned cold again, though the tips of his ears remained red. "My tail hurts." Though his tone was cool and detached, it somehow sounded like he was pouting. The barrage of comments went wild. LMAO. The male lead isn't actually in pain at all. He's totally faking it. He's really throwing all dignity out the window to chase the female lead. With a merman's healing ability, this wound would probably be gone in the next second. Is this him acting cute? Damn, never thought I'd see the day when the male lead voluntarily acts cute. This guy didn't even make a sound when shedding his scales. Reading these comments, I knew he was faking it, yet I still inexplicably went to get medicine for him. Bruce obediently rested his tail on the bathtub. While applying the medicine, I could feel him watching me the whole time. The bullet comments quickly translated Bruce's inner thoughts. Finally beat up my love rival today. So happy. The way the female lead applies medicine for me is so adorable. Wanna kiss her. Also want her to touch my gland. Her hands are so soft. My hand trembled slightly, face burning hot. Done. I looked up. Bruce awkwardly averted his gaze. His Adam's apple bobbing. I curled a smile and gently patted his fishtail. "You did well today." In just 1 second, Bruce turned into a high-temperature braised fish again. After that, Sam never bothered me again, but I still decided to move quickly, because I wanted to get Bruce a bigger bathtub. Even though I changed his water every day, he started losing scales. The first time I noticed, he still tried to hide it. Later, when I caught him, he casually placed the scales in my palm. Then, with a haughty air, he turned his head away from me. "My scales are quite valuable too, take them if you want." I accepted them, but out of the corner of my eye, I noticed a small bald patch on his tail that he usually treasured so much. Bruce hid his tail behind him when he noticed my gaze. The bullet comments floated by. "The male lead has been away from the ocean for too long. No wonder he's uncomfortable. Yet even so, he still wants to stay by the female lead side. He was afraid the female lead would think his tail looked ugly when balding. And last night he secretly shed little pearls because his tail was losing scales. Moreover, the male lead is in his mating season, enduring physical discomfort every night and barely getting any sleep." Reading this, I frowned. Is Bruce feeling unwell? Just as I was about to ask him, a comment floated across the screen. "Isn't that right? The merman's needs during mating season are quite intense, day and night, in places the female lead can't see. The male lead must have worn calluses on his hands. Afraid of waking the female lead, the male lead waits until nightfall every time to take matters into his own hands. Holding back like this isn't a solution. The deep-sea beast will eventually roar one day." Realizing what his discomfort was, My face grew hot. I quickly pretended not to notice. At night, I quietly approached the bathroom door and pressed my ear lightly against it. I could hear Bruce calling my name in a low, husky voice. Over and over, restrained and controlled, outside the door, my legs grew weak from listening. I couldn't resist peeking through the crack, only to meet those watery blue eyes staring back from afar. The bullet comments floated by. Mermaids are very sensitive to scents. The male lead had long noticed the female lead watching him. Oh ho, catching the female lead scent only made the male lead more excited. I hurriedly ran back to the bedroom. That faintly flushed face. Those crimson-tinted eye corners, and those moist blue eyes staring at me, everything was too bewitching. My own body began to grow faintly warm. In the darkness, I clenched the blanket tighter. Soon, I contacted the moving company. During the move, Bruce transformed his fishtail into legs. He snatched the heavy items from my hands. With his long limbs, Bruce was now dressed in a white shirt and casual pants, glowing under the sunlight. The neighbors were secretly eyeing him and whispering, "Little girl. No wonder you turned down that young man before. You've got such a handsome one hidden at home. Humph, what's the use of a man being good-looking, just a pretty boy? Being able to earn money is what really matters. This guy is so handsome he looks like a big star straight out of a TV drama. If I were 20 years younger, I'd be smitten too. How about giving me an autograph?" Bruce coldly avoided their touch and silently stood by my side. I smiled at the neighbors. "Sorry, my partner here is a bit shy, so please keep your distance." The bullet comments floated across the screen. "The male lead is so cold and indifferent to everyone else. Only with the female lead does he constantly want to get close." When the female lead said, "My man," the male lead must have been secretly thrilled to death. He's already overjoyed. If he still had his fishtail, he'd definitely be wagging it like crazy at the female lead. I tilted my head slightly and caught a glimpse of Bruce's reddened ear tips again. My heart feels a little itchy. Suddenly, I really want to touch him. Not long after arriving at the new home, the editor's reminder message came through. "Hey, can you keep up with the normal updates for your mermaid romance novel next week?" "Sure, that's good then," I checked. And the reader's response has been positive, except they keep complaining about the author's cliffhangers. Seeing those 3 tildes, my old face turned red. After keeping Bruce in captivity, I created a new comic character based on him, and whenever I didn't know how to draw, I would go, bully Bruce, hit his fishtail to force him to cry, while conveniently collecting pearls. This time, I went again. Bruce still wore that indifferent expression when he saw me, only his eyes suddenly lit up. The barrage mercilessly called him out. The male lead starts acting aloof again the moment he sees the female lead, maintaining his cold beauty persona. He's just pretending to be aloof, but his gaze is practically glued to the female lead. If I remember correctly, isn't there supposed to be a bathtub play scene next? I stepped closer and lifted Bruce's chin. "How about being my model?" His eyelashes fluttered slightly, but he didn't respond. I took it as his silent agreement. I raised my hand to touch his high, straight nose bridge, then followed the sharp jawline until my fingers reached his prominent collarbone. His Adam's apple bobbed abruptly as a hoarse voice escaped. "What do you want to do?" I didn't answer him, just placed my hand on his pectoral muscles, gave them a squeeze. The texture was nice. Bruce shrank back, and I discontentedly slapped his fish tail. "Move again and I'll hit you." His body trembled slightly, yet the next second, he moved even more vigorously. Even the barrage comments laughed. "Heroine, this isn't punishment, it's a reward." Does the heroine really not realize that every time she hits the male lead's tail, he enjoys it? The male lead even deliberately disobeys the heroine to make her keep hitting him. What has she turned him into? I curled my lips. Of course I knew. Then, I leisurely tapped once more. Bruce clung tightly to the edge of the bathtub, his damp eyes fixed on me. "What trick are you trying to pull now? Don't think I'll give you pearls just because of this." My palm gently landed on his abs, and I even carefully gave them a feel. "So this is what it feels like." The bullet screen exploded. OMG, I'm so excited. Why is the female lead being so proactive today? I want to touch those muscles too. This is making me drool. The male lead is about to explode. Explode, explode, explode. In the end, Bruce was bullied into tears by me again, this time. The corners of his eyes were especially red. his slender fingers tightly gripped the edge of the bathtub, his gaze at me filled with a mix of shyness and helplessness. Pearls scattered all over the floor with a clattering sound. I carefully picked them up and stored them away. A barrage of comments flashed by. "Oh my God, the female lead is so bold today. It's making me blush just watching. The male lead is already in his mating season. Isn't the female lead afraid he might lose control like this? Is my favorite scene coming early?" Excited anticipation. Before leaving, I stroked Bruce's hair. "Good boy." Bruce stared at me intently. The next second, he grabbed my wrist. He pulled me into the bathtub, his arms tightly wrapped around my waist from behind. I squirmed uncomfortably, held even tighter. The sensation became more pronounced. A low, husky voice burned above my head. "Stop squirming." I didn't dare move. Seems like I've gone too far, but after waiting for a long time, Bruce didn't do anything else. He just held me tightly, burying his head in the crook of my neck and nuzzling incessantly. Only when the temperature dropped a bit did he finally let go of me. I ran back to the bedroom. The clothes were soaking wet, and his body still felt weak. The barrage of comments flew across the screen, full of fervor. I already took my pants off. And this is all I get to see. Is the male lead incapable? If he can't do it, he should go sit at the kids' table. Let me take over. I covered my burning face. Damn it, I wasn't expecting anything. After that, Bruce would always stay nearby wherever I went. Sometimes when I looked up, I would meet those blue eyes. According to the bullet comments, the male lead has officially entered the mating season, and clinging to the female lead has become instinctive. The merman has turned into a staring puppy. He follows the female lead everywhere, when she's busy. He plays with his own tail. So adorable. Once again, I worked on the comic manuscript late into the night and was so exhausted that I fell asleep right in the study. When I woke up, a small blanket had been draped over me. Bruce was sitting quietly on the chair beside me. His blue eyes gazed at me softly. After our eyes met, he quickly looked away. Just the tips of his ears turned red again. My heart inexplicably softened. He was still sneaking glances at me as I sent him back to the bathroom. Before the door closed, I caught a glimpse of his desolate expression. When separated from the female lead during the merman's mating season, the male lead suffers greatly, but he always endures the night alone to avoid frightening her. Good heavens, just how much can the male lead endure? This isn't a merman, it's literally the Ninja Turtles. Seeing these bullet comments, I opened the door again. "Can you maintain human form at night?" His eyelashes fluttered slightly. "Yes." I turned around. "Come here." Bruce froze for a moment, then transformed his slender legs and stepped out of the bathtub, fumbling to put on the robe in a fluster. After entering the room, I looked at the only large bed, then at the half-naked, 190 cm, tall handsome man behind me. I must be out of my mind. By the time I climbed into bed, Bruce was still standing stiffly by the bedside. I burrowed into the blankets, turned off the light, and patted the edge of the bed. "I'm cold. Come up and hold me while we sleep." With that, I closed my eyes. Before long, a scorching body pressed against me. His firm arms encircled my waist. The barrage of comments exploded, but I had no mood to care anymore, because my own heartbeat seemed to have lost control too. In the blink of an eye, the spring festival arrived. The barrage is flooding the screen. When is the female lead finally going to abandon the male lead? It's already New Year's. How come we still haven't gotten a taste of the good stuff after waiting so long? Same here. Feels like the plot's dragging. A month ago, the female lead should have already earned enough to release the male lead back into the sea. I really want to see the male lead turn dark and drag the female lead underwater. Doing this and that, I pretended not to see, my face slightly warm. Actually, I had already earned enough money. It's just that I didn't want to let Bruce go anymore. As for this and that, one thing and another, is it that I don't want to? Tears silently fell as I realized it had been a month of just sleeping under the same blanket with Bruce. At night, amidst the fireworks filling the sky, I leaned back on the sofa watching a movie. I deliberately chose The Shape of Water. Even the bullet comments picked up on the subtle hints. Wow, The Shape of Water vibes, a human mermaid romance. Is the female lead hinting at something? This is practically an open declaration. Too bad the male lead didn't watch the movie at all. He only had eyes for the female lead the whole time. LOL. When the female lead and the fish man embraced tightly in the bathtub during the film, I turned my head away, no surprise. I once again met a pair of blue eyes. I reached out my hand. Give me your tail. Bruce's Adam's apple moved. We merfolk don't just let anyone touch our tails, but his tail had already obediently settled into my palm. I reached out to touch it. Bruce's body began to grow warm, his slender fingers digging deep into the couch. The corners of his eyes reddened again. I went straight into Bruce's bathroom with a towel when taking a shower at night. He froze at the sight of me. You. Ignoring his expression, I started unbuttoning my clothes on my own. My shower is broken, can't I borrow yours? The barrage flooded the screen. Holy shit, the female lead is making a move. Ah, the female lead is so bold. I love it. Male lead, make your move. Bruce's face instantly turned red, not daring to look at me. He said dryly, as you wish. Then, the entire mermaid leaped out of the bathtub. The tail slammed heavily onto the floor. My fingers paused on the buttons. Bruce let out a muffled groan, then hopped away in a series of jumps. He even thoughtfully closed the bathroom door for me. I was completely dumbfounded. The barrage of comments was equally bewildered. Damn, does Bruce really have to wait until I abandon him before he's willing to follow the plot? Early the next morning, I took Bruce to the seaside. Sure enough, his eyes turned red, looking at me with a pitiful expression. Don't you want me anymore? The barrage got excited. Ah, it's finally happening. Once the female lead collects enough pearls, she'll release the male lead, then the male lead's beastly instincts take over. He bullies the female lead until she's sobbing. I remained expressionless, practically following the barrage script. That's right, I've earned enough money, I don't need pearls anymore, and I don't need you either. After saying that, I deliberately turned away, pretending to be heartless. In my heart, I silently counted, 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, but there wasn't the slightest movement behind me. Turning around, I saw a group of mermaids leaping out from the sea. They carried Bruce away and disappeared into the underwater vortex. Only a few pearls were left on the beach. I was stunned. No, is this plot correct? Bullet comments. Ah, it's over. Why now of all times? Those old fossils from the seabed are dragging Bruce back. How did the plot twist like this? Where's my forced love? Before I could finish reading the bullet comments, I was also dragged into the sea. When I woke up again, I found myself in a palace-like place. Bruce knelt stiffly in the center of the hall. As for me, I was locked in a cage. The merman on the throne looked at Bruce with exasperation. Humph, you barely escaped and already reduced yourself to this state. A perfectly good palace you refuse to live in, insisting on dwelling in a human world bathtub. So cramped, how could it compare to the comfort of a palace? You've been chasing her for so long, only to be abandoned in the end. Now we have to step in and bring her back for you. Bruce knelt on the ground, his lips pressed tightly together. Father, I just don't want to force her to do anything she doesn't like, and, he put on a broken yet stubborn expression, she didn't abandon me, she just doesn't need money for now. When she runs short again, she'll come take me back. The merman on the throne looked utterly shocked. She hesitated to speak. The bullet comments floated by. Oh my god, this simp talk. The male lead is totally head over heels. LMAO, the male lead's father. How did I end up with such a useless son? I stared fixedly at Bruce's retreating figure. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Actually, picking up Bruce was an accident back then. The day I saw Sam's true colors, I drank a lot out of sadness. Living alone for too long made me desperately crave companionship. Little did I know, what I thought was a soul connection was just an illusion performed by a scumbag. That day I stumbled my way to the seaside. They're all the same, no one will stay with me forever. Just like after my parents divorced, neither wanted me. All emotional connections in adulthood turn out to be temporary companionship. I have no family, no friends. There's no one behind me. That night, I don't remember how long I cried. Turning my head, I saw Bruce sitting on the reef staring at me, under the moonlight. He was as beautiful as a painting. He walked toward me. Don't cry. When I woke up again, I was already at home, holding a very large pearl in hand, and Bruce was right there in the bathtub. The man on the throne let out a long sigh, pulling me back from my memories. Ever since you used the forbidden technique, I've been watching your pursuit of your beloved, and the more I see, the more anxious I become. Tell me, how did I end up with such a blockhead like you? This medicine only works for those who are mutually in love. Today, as your father, I'll help you this far. If you still don't get it, don't call yourself a merman anymore. From now on, you can sit at the turtle's table during meals." The barrage excitedly comments, "Wow, what kind of medicine is this? Is it what I'm thinking of? Ha ha ha." The old father is really worried to death. "Tortoise, you're so noble and great. Why bring me into this?" As Bruce's father finished speaking, a strange medicinal fragrance wafted through the air. His body began to grow hot. Then the man waved his hand, and the cage was opened. My body became hot and soft. I almost desperately threw myself into Bruce's arms. "Bruce, hold me." Bruce's body stiffened as he picked me up and carried me back to his bedchamber. It was hot. I wrapped my arms around his neck and pushed him onto the bed. His face flushed red as he obediently let me pin him down. The blue eyes looked at me, moist with unshed tears. I fumbled over his body. "Where is the mermaid's?" His gaze dared not meet mine. His entire body was flushed red, his Adam's apple bobbing frantically as he spoke in a hoarse whisper. "It's the spot you always like to hit. Here." Bruce's fingers tightly gripped the sheets, yet he still didn't move. Just kept staring at me with those wet, pleading eyes. I leaned down and kissed the nape of his neck. My lips sought the location of his scent gland. The moment I touched it, his body shuddered violently. The next second, the world spun before my eyes. A hoarse voice came from above. "Sorry, I just couldn't hold back anymore." Those clear blue eyes were finally tainted with other colors by me. The barrage comments were extremely excited. Universal celebration. It's been so hard. Even though it's all mosaics and nothing can be seen, we finally get a bite to eat. The female lead used to make the male lead cry for pearls, but now she's the one being bullied to tears by him. Hee hee hee. The merman can last for 3 days. Can't imagine what the female lead will be like after 3 days. I don't have much strength, but the medicine finally took effect. After seeing the barrage of comments, I was utterly shocked. 3 days. Is it too late to back out now? Just as she crawled forward a step, Bruce grabbed her ankle and pulled her back. "Baby, don't run away." Gentle, lingering kisses fell on the back of her ear and down her spine. She felt as if she were on a small boat again, rocking gently in the vast sea. Her eyes were red from crying, her voice hoarse as she begged for mercy, yet Bruce's movements showed no sign of slowing down. Occasionally, comments floated across the screen. "Holy shit, the male lead is truly silent but deadly. Mermen are still the best." The male lead endured half a year of mating season and almost lost control at the beginning. When will the mosaics here be fixed? It's been almost 3 days. The tears I shed in 3 days were more than what Bruce shed in half a year of being bullied by me. After it was completely over, I woke up. Once again, I met his blue gaze. I gritted my teeth and struck his tail hard. It lacked strength, more like a flirtatious gesture. His eyes were moist as he held my hand and kissed the back of it. "Baby, hit me one more time." I couldn't take it anymore and turned my back. I don't want to deal with him anymore. I lay in the palace for a full day. The moment my feet touched the ground, they went weak. He always needs Bruce to carry him for everything. A day later, I finally regained some strength, struggling to get up. "I want to go home." Bruce listened, his gaze tinged with a hint of caution. "Am I coming too?" I tapped his tail. "Of course, you're mine now." He was happy, his fish tail wagging behind him. Before bed, after Bruce escorted me back to the bedroom, he was about to trot off to the bathtub again. I stopped him. "Let's sleep together." He suddenly turned around, crawled in, and held me tightly. But as we held each other, the atmosphere began to heat up. The next day, I couldn't get up again, clutching the blanket and silently shedding tears. A mermaid in mating season is truly not to be trifled with. Bruce's perspective. Since birth, my kin have warned me, never leave the ocean, because there were humans on the shore. If caught by them, something terrible would happen. But when I was young, I was still very curious and secretly swam to the coast, never expected to be washed ashore by the waves, unable to move. Just as I was about to revert to my original form, a little human girl appeared. She scooped me up with her tiny hands. I thought she had come to capture me. But she released me back into the sea. "Let's go home." Then she ran towards another stranded fish. I only had time to remember her appearance and scent. The second time I sneaked out, I saw her again. She had grown a bit, but I still remembered her scent. This time, she was crying. She was asking why her mom and dad didn't want her anymore. I couldn't answer her. Soon, the clansman who captured me came. I only had time to leave her a pearl, a mermaid's tear, also the first gift I ever gave her. I hope she won't be sad. Later, she occasionally came to the shore, muttering to the sea. She mocked herself. All my words were spoken to the wind. I wanted to tell her, I was actually listening carefully. One night, when I sensed that faint presence in the deep sea again, I immediately swam toward the shore. That day she was drunk, stumbling around. Her eyes were red, as if she had been crying. His face was flushed, his eyes glistening with moisture. I listened as she spoke of how lonely she was. 1 second before she fell, I transformed into the form of a merman and caught her, wiping away the moisture lingering at the corner of her eye. Don't cry. Yet when she saw me, she smiled, lifting my chin. Where did such a handsome man come from? How about coming home with me? My Adam's apple bobbed. Okay, Bella probably always thought it was she who knocked me out and brought me home, but in reality, I was the one who carried her home. After placing her on the bed, I put the most beautiful pearl I had into her palm. He then went to the bathroom and took over her bathtub. When she woke up, I clumsily performed the newly learned trick of faking an injury. Don't think that just because you brought me back, I'll give you pearls. Our mermaid pearls are very valuable. As I spoke, I pinched my own tail hard. Tears streamed from her eyes. Pearls fell to the ground. I just wanted to find a reason to stay by her side forever. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. After my childhood friend's exotic pet store went out of business, he insisted on giving me a black king snake. He swore to me that the black king snake was beautiful, docile, and easy to care for. I watched the little snake escape from the incubator for the 100th time and sighed in frustration. I'm not sure if this snake is truly beautiful, docile, and easy to care for, but I think it's a bit dim-witted. The snake is staring at me again. As I walked out of the kitchen with a water glass, I saw the snake coiled around the potted tree, its small head peeking out from the leaves, flicking its tongue at me. When I moved left, its head tilted left. I turn to the right, and his head tilts to the right. I enter the study, and it slides down from the tree, silently following behind me. To be honest, I'm not particularly interested in snakes. I don't find them terrifying, but I don't think they're beautiful either. I took it in because my childhood friend said snakes don't need companionship or walks, and they only eat once every 10 days or so, making them very low maintenance. Won't it bite me? I asked. You've got it in a box, how could it bite you? Besides, black king snakes are docile and usually don't bite. Even if it did bite you, the pain wouldn't be worse than a mosquito bite. My childhood friend and I have known each other for 20 years, so I trusted what he said. I prepared the snake enclosure, food, and lighting as instructed, but the snake enclosure I carefully prepared was only used on its first day here. After that, it escaped every single day. No matter what I tried or how securely I closed the box, it always managed to sneak out. Then it would crawl across my desk, wardrobe, and sofa as if patrolling its territory. One day when I came home from work, I found it had left a snake skin on my bed. It was coiled on my pillow, and upon noticing my return, flicked its tongue at me, as if saying, "Hello, human, this is a gift from the snake." I casually placed the snake skin in a box. That night, as I turned over in bed, I suddenly felt something unusual beneath me. Half asleep, I lifted the blanket and saw a snake coiled around my thigh, its head resting on my hip bone. Noticing I was awake, it slithered up my body, winding around my shoulder before finally settling its head in the crook of my neck. With a satisfied flick of its tail tip, it seemed content. I thought there was something off about this snake. The human body temperature is 37 degrees, but a snake's comfortable temperature is around 32 degrees. So for a snake, the human body is an uninhabitable place. I put the snake back in the box and closed the lid. Still uneasy, I placed a heavy object on top. "This is your home now, you can't treat me like your bed, understand?" I said to it very seriously. The snake restlessly circled inside the box, as if looking for an escape opportunity. It nudged the lid with its head, feeling a bit dizzy, taking a break before trying again. It was so persistent that I wondered if the box was making it uncomfortable. I checked again. even reaching inside to test the temperature, just to be sure. Then the snake seized the opportunity and immediately coiled around my wrist. I ignored it, focusing instead on examining the box inside and out. Temperature control is fine, both the cold and warm zones are at appropriate temperatures. The pool has just been refilled with water, the coverings are also very clean, the box is also large enough. I couldn't find any issues at all, even went out of my way to call my childhood friend to ask about it. In the end, I came to one conclusion: this snake is probably a bit dim-witted. To put it bluntly, it's an idiot. I let the snake coil around my hand and began to think seriously. Snakes are widely recognized as creatures with low intelligence. They have no emotions and do not recognize their owners. Even if they live with their owners day and night, at most they regard them as harmless tree trunks. I stared intently at the snake's head, examining it carefully. Its brain is so small, not very smart to begin with, and now it's officially diagnosed as the intellectually disabled among snakes. How did it even grow this big? My childhood friend said this snake is extremely docile, never slithers around, always stays obediently in its terrarium, making it very easy to care for. That's why they gave it to me. I seriously suspect the snake was swapped on the way here. The snake lay on my palm. Noticing how close I was, and flicked its tongue at me, it just brushed against my lips, a very faint sensation, but its pupils instantly narrowed, as if suddenly turning aggressive. I thought to myself, this is bad, and just as I was about to step back, it shot toward me like lightning, its body coiled around my neck, its scales sliding against my skin, its forked tongue flicking against my lips again and again. It seemed fascinated by the sensation, touching back and forth repeatedly. I didn't dare move a muscle, gaining my first real understanding of a snake's striking speed. It played for a long time, and in the end, probably exhausted, it didn't leave but instead wrapped itself around me, comfortably lying on my shoulder, and fell asleep. The next day when I woke up, while brushing my teeth, I noticed a small cut on my lower lip. Upon closer inspection, there were two very tiny wounds with dried blood on them. It didn't take a genius to figure out who the culprit was. The snake swam over again. It nudged open the half-closed bathroom door with its head, coiled around my calf, spiraling upward, and finally tied itself into a knot before settling on my shoulder, motionless. It seemed to have mistaken my shoulder and neck for its nest. I sighed. Forget it, with an IQ of -5, I might as well keep it. The snake started following me everywhere. When I worked in the study, it wanted to come along. When I left for work, it wanted to come too, most of the time. It acts like an idiot, but only when I try to stop it from following me do I realize it actually has a bit of intelligence. This is evident in how, no matter how much I reject it, it always manages to ignore my refusal and cling stubbornly to me. How am I supposed to explain to it that I can't take it outside, even though it's a harmless idiot snake that wouldn't hurt a fly? Most people are terrified of snakes. If I carry it around, it might be happy, but everyone else would suffer. After finding it in my pocket, in my briefcase, and in my hood, I had no choice but to request remote work from the company. The snake was satisfied. That night, it gave me another snakeskin. I placed its shed snake skin in the same box and then took my pajamas into the bathroom. Amid the sound of trickling water, I leaned against the wall, slightly closing my eyes, meticulously cleaning every part of my body. Since breaking up with my boyfriend 2 years ago, I've been single ever since. But I never deny myself pleasure. I love indulging in the bathroom, where it's easy to clean up afterward. A tingling sensation crept up my calf, and as I opened my eyes, I realized the snake had somehow sneaked in again. The only time it didn't coil around me was when I was showering. The water was simply too hot for it. Even an idiot knows to flee when uncomfortable. Get out before you get boiled, I urged, not bothering to finish washing myself, my hands still slick with soap. I tried to grab it and shove it out. The snake refused. It seemed to be discovering for the first time that my body was different from its own, coiling around the base of my leg, raising its head, and staring straight at the organ unique to females. The next second, it slithered inside. Never in my life had I been in such a frantic state. I knew this snake wasn't the brightest, but I never expected it to be foolish enough to try slithering into any opening. Hurry up and come out. My tastes aren't that extreme. I don't do human-snake romance. I gritted my teeth as I tried to grab it, but it seemed addicted. burrowing deeper and deeper. I gasped, my whole body tensing up, and mustered every ounce of strength to pull it out and lock it in a box. Of course, the box couldn't contain it, but if I can't afford to provoke, can't I at least avoid it? I changed my clothes, booked a hotel, and left home without a moment's delay. That very night, I had an unspeakable dream. In the dream, I was coiled by a pitch-black python, alternating between icy cold and scorching heat. When I woke up, I couldn't help but cover my face in shame. Oh no, could it be that I've been single for too long and actually turned into a pervert? No, no, no. I'm a normal person, it's that stupid snake that's the pervert. I picked up my phone to check the surveillance footage and see if the snake behaved itself after I left last night. The neighborhood group chat instantly exploded with messages. 9 out of 10 homeowners in my building reported seeing snakes in their homes last night. When I opened the photos in the group, I was so shocked I jumped out of bed. Isn't that my idiot snake? Whose house did it slither into? The group chat was still buzzing with messages, urging the property management to come out and explain the situation, and to immediately call 911 to deal with the snake. I couldn't lie still any longer and rolled over, wanting to rush home immediately, but as soon as I lifted the blanket, the snake was coiled up like a pile of dung, sleeping peacefully by my feet. Its scales shimmered in colorful hues under the light, and the tip of its tail twitched occasionally in contentment. Looking utterly satisfied after a good meal, my internal alarm bells were ringing loudly. Although I booked a nearby hotel for convenience, it still takes at least 20 minutes to get there from my home. How could a snake accurately locate which hotel and room I was in, let alone silently reach my feet? I checked the group messages again. Oh, it wasn't completely silent either, but no matter how you think about it, this is something that goes against scientific values. Perhaps my expression was too terrified, because the snake woke up, it yawned, and I could even see the pink mucous membrane moving inside its mouth. That wasn't some poetic scene, because snakes yawning isn't a social behavior. They usually do it when feeding, preparing to shed skin, or scent marking, or mating. I think I might be going crazy, because the first thought that popped into my head was, would there be reproductive isolation in a human-snake romance? I returned the snake to my childhood friend, and firmly declared that I would never keep a snake again. My friend was shocked when he saw the snake. He praised me as a snake-raising prodigy, amazed at how much the snake had grown in such a short time. Living with the snake day in and day out, I hadn't noticed it growing, but now it lay unusually still in its terrarium, flicking its tongue as it stared at me. How many reptiles do you still have? Is there enough space at home? Do you want me to help rent a bigger place? I quietly convinced myself that, after all these years of friendship, I should help my childhood friend in need. It definitely wasn't because I was worried the snake might feel cramped and unhappy in its limited space. No need. I've recently made some extra money at work. My childhood friend waved his hand dismissively. I'm already looking at storefronts for a studio. I'm getting back into the business, I have to admit. My friend's love for exotic pets runs deep. The snake would definitely have a better life with him than with me. I was overthinking it. As I was leaving, I couldn't help but glance back at the snake. Its body rose along the contours of the snake box, staring intently at me, as if to say, "Human, you can't escape." Startled, I immediately averted my gaze and tightened my grip on my bag. My childhood friend lives over 10 kilometers away from my home. I refused to believe it could find its way back. I told myself, snakes don't have emotions. Every past moment I thought proved it liked me or clung to me was just me being delusional. I'm a normal person, and I need to return to a normal life. That evening, I went to the bar. People can become twisted if they suppress themselves for too long. I don't want to become twisted. I desperately needed to find someone, a living, breathing man with warmth, hands, and feet. I need some tenderness. The men at this bar are of good quality. I locked eyes with one of them, shared a few drinks, and with mutual understanding, we both stood up at the same time. The nearest hotel is just 200 meters from the bar. We were like dry wood meeting a fierce fire. It was bound to ignite, until I noticed the window kept making noises, as if being hit by pebbles. But this is the 32nd floor. How could that be? I shoved the man, urging him to go check. The man got up impatiently, walked over barefoot, and pulled open the curtains. I saw a nearly 1 meter long black snake pressed against the window. writhing its body as it tried to push the window open with its head. "Snake!" he screamed in terror, scrambling away in a panic. I wanted to call out to him to remind him he wasn't wearing any clothes, but he ran incredibly fast, like a tornado, whoosh, and vanished in an instant. I sighed, thinking how nice it would be if his waist could move that fast too. The man left, and the sound of knocking on the window stopped. I walked over and stared at the snake through the window. I no longer wanted to think about how it had tracked me down or even managed to climb up to the 32nd floor. I opened the window and let it in. Its body was covered in dust, the usually gleaming scales had lost their luster, and even a half-rotted withered leaf was stuck to its head. It didn't immediately snuggle up to me but instead collapsed exhausted on the windowsill. "Why do you keep clinging to me? I'm not even nice to you." I stared at it, my tone calm. The snake cannot speak, naturally. It cannot answer me either. When I reach out to it, it coils around me limply. I bathed it and then offered my neck for it to wrap around. It seemed really tired, lying motionless on my shoulder, fast asleep and snoring softly. I buttoned up the top button of my shirt and adjusted it again, making sure its presence wouldn't be noticed, before checking out. I took it home with me. I've always considered myself a rule-following person. Having lived for over 20 years, I followed the routine path, going to school, then to work. With decent academic performance and fairly good professional skills, I've been in a few relationships, each ending amicably. My life was predictably dull, not necessarily destined for great success, but certainly for smooth sailing. But everything changed after I met this snake. Even though I repeatedly remind myself that snakes don't possess emotions as such advanced feelings. It might not even know what it's truly doing, yet I still indulge it. It can come and go anywhere as it pleases, including my body. It never attacks me. Its favorite thing to do is curl around me and sleep soundly. It never disturbs me while I work, but if it notices I've been playing on my phone for too long and ignoring it, it gets angry and slaps me with its tail. The only real issue is during my period. Perhaps the scent of blood stimulates it, as it almost incessantly slithers over me, trying to trace the source of the blood, then attempts to burrow in to help heal me. But usually I let it be. But during this special time, I didn't dare to joke about my health. I could only stop it repeatedly. "I'm not injured." This is a normal cycle for human females. It's unclear whether it understood or not. Although it didn't cross the line again, it kept wandering around the house, the whole snake appearing particularly restless. A few days later, my period ended. Its molting period has arrived. During the molting period, snakes become very insecure due to impaired vision and highly aggressive. Under these circumstances, it's impossible for me to take it outside, but I also don't dare leave it alone at home, afraid it might foolishly try to sneak out and follow me. I didn't expect the snake to shed its skin again so soon. Originally, I had plans to meet a friend, but because I was too worried about it, I simply invited my friend over instead. Fortunately, my friend didn't mind at all. In fact, when she heard I had a pet snake, she got really excited and said she couldn't wait to see it. Actually, I've been wanting to get a snake too. When you mentioned your childhood friend opened an exotic pet store, I even thought about asking you for an introduction. But back then I was living abroad, so it wasn't very convenient. As soon as my friend stepped through the door, she immediately rushed over to the snake tank. Since we had a guest over, I didn't dare leave the snake out in the open. I had to use my frequently worn pajamas to build a makeshift nest inside the tank, barely managing to negotiate with it to stay there for a while. At this moment, the snake was almost completely submerged under my pajamas, with only the faintest glimpse of a trembling tail tip visible. "Oh my God, this is just too adorable. My heart is melting," my friend gasped, clutching their chest as if struggling to breathe. "Can I touch it?" "No." I shook my head. "It's in its shedding phase and might attack you." "It's fine. Worst case is just a bite." No sooner had I spoken than my friend eagerly opened the box. She moved so fast that by the time I realized what was happening, it was already too late. The snake viciously coiled around her fingertips, and the pain made her scream almost instantly. "Don't be afraid, don't be afraid, let go quickly." I immediately reached out and forcibly unwound the snake's coiled body, sensing a familiar scent. The snake quickly calmed down, blindfolded. It flicked its tongue against the back of my hand before coiling around my arm. It was about to shed its skin, its entire body hazy and at its most vulnerable. with aggression at its peak. Tears streamed down my friend's face from the pain, her fingers and the back of her hand covered in red marks. Fortunately, no bones were injured. She hissed softly in pain, sitting slumped on the ground, not daring to move a muscle. I wanted to help her up, but she was wary of the snake still coiled around me and firmly insisted, "I'll manage on my own. Stay away from me. I told you not to touch it," I sighed, turning to fetch the first aid kit for her. I had no idea this snake would be so violent. I heard snakes usually just bite or spit acid. I forced a dry laugh. "My snake is a bit special, but it's way too clingy to you." After calming down, my friend was still shocked. I have a few friends who also keep snakes, but even the most docile ones just tolerate being handled. They won't run away or attack their owners, but recognizing their owner, that's impossible. Gently stroking the snake through my clothes, I said, "Yeah, I got lucky. By the way, what's your snake's name?" I froze. My friend looked at me in disbelief. "You've had it for so long and never gave it a name. How do you usually call it then?" "I hardly ever call it. We're practically inseparable 24/7. It's always with me, so there's no need to call it. You should give it a name. When it comes to pets, naming them creates a bond. You know." The snake wriggled beneath the clothing, as if agreeing with my friend's words, but I truly couldn't treat it as a pet. My interactions with it were far too bizarre. If this were filmed as a documentary, the opening would need a special warning: extreme content, viewer discretion advised. "I used to think it was a bit dim-witted," I said with a smile, "so let's call it Not Dim, and it can take my surname, Lucas." My friend said the name sounded odd but somehow suited me perfectly. One is called Abundance, the other is called Lack Not. Lacking nothing, no shortage of food, shelter, wit, or love, everything is perfect. That very night, I had another dream. In the dream, the man's face was indistinct, but his physique was firm and powerful. Below his 8-pack abs, the faint outline of a mermaid line shimmered beneath the scales. The pitch-black serpent's tail coiled around me, inviting me to share in the pleasures of the flesh. My mouth was parched, the dryness in my throat jolting me awake as my eyes snapped open. What I had just thought was a dream had now become reality. I was probably prepared, knowing Lucas wasn't an ordinary snake, so I wasn't too shocked when I discovered he could actually transform into a human. The size difference between us was enormous. His arms were almost as thick as my calves. It was clear that hanging onto me before had required considerable effort, which explained why he had developed such well-defined muscles. His upper body was human, but his serpentine tail still coiled around me. Seeing me awake, he stammered out my name, "Kylie." I saw the two little fangs in his mouth and couldn't resist reaching out to touch them. He gently bit the pad of my finger, grinding his teeth slightly, then couldn't help but open his mouth wider, taking my entire finger inside. "Behave yourself." I quickly pulled my hand back, my face flushing red. He blinked his dark pupils, not understanding what was wrong with me. Although he's taken human form, many of his snake-like habits remain unchanged. He doesn't seem to realize his current size and still tries to cling to me. I asked him about his origins. Wasn't it said that creatures couldn't gain sentience after the founding of the nation? Is he a monster or something else? True to the idiot nickname I'd given him earlier, he knew nothing about his own background. No matter what I asked, no matter what question I posed, he would just stare at my mouth with those overly innocent eyes. Once I finished speaking, he'd press close again, mumbling indistinctly for a kiss. "Kylie," like, I've taught him so many human languages, but to this day, the only two words he speaks fluently are, "Kylie." Yes, he's incredibly skilled at household chores, excelling at everything from mopping floors to cooking. If I hadn't seen him slithering from the kitchen to the bathroom with his snake tail, I'd have suspected he was actually a transformed snail. In Lucas's world, there are only two things: food and me. Sometimes, these two can be equated. I like him, more than just like, he is my other half, finally making my life feel complete. On our first anniversary, I specially ordered a cake to celebrate. The doorbell rang, snapping me out of my daze. I pushed Lucas away with effort. "The food delivery is here. Let me get the door." He clearly hadn't regained his senses yet. His eyes glazed and unfocused, instinctively still trying to chase after my lips. I patted his head and got up to answer the door, retrieved the cake, signed for it, and closed the door. It all happened in less than a minute. The cake is here. Would you like to try? I turned around, my smile frozen. The spacious room was now empty, with no trace of Lucas left. Lucas is gone. His scent has completely vanished, as if he never existed. I've searched every corner of the house and haven't found even a single scale. I want to go outside to look for him, but he never goes out alone. I don't even know where he might have gone. I seem to know him well. I know he likes drinking water, enjoys eating meat, and loves wrapping his tail around my calf when he sleeps. Yet, I also feel like I don't truly understand him. I don't know where he came from, what his identity is, or whether he'll ever return. His presence is invisible. When he was here, I couldn't introduce him to any of my friends. After he left, I couldn't reminisce about him with any of my friends. My friends only knew I was depressed over the disappearance of a snake. They didn't realize what I had lost wasn't a snake, but my lover. My childhood friend rushed over overnight with another snake. Don't be sad. That snake was very intelligent, and losing it is truly regrettable. But this one is also good, with excellent qualities. I accepted his kindness but still turned him down. I won't keep snakes anymore. A day, a week, a month, a year, the snake tank at home went from being cleaned by me daily to eventually being stored away in a box, gathering dust. I am no longer in pain and can work and live normally. Sometimes I feel like Lucas's existence was just my hallucination. Maybe I had schizophrenia during that time, and he was just an imaginary lover I conjured up. But the surveillance footage in the living room clearly proves to me that Lucas did exist. I still worry about him. He's not the type to leave without saying goodbye. Something must have happened that prevented him from bidding me farewell, yet so much time has passed, and he still hasn't appeared. There are only two possibilities. He was dead, either he's alive but sees no need to meet me again. Whichever it is, I should let it go, but my body has grown accustomed to his demands. So there are always a few days each month when I toss and turn, unable to sleep through the night. After yet another sleepless night spent staring at the ceiling, I dragged myself to work with heavy dark circles under my eyes. My boss called me into his office and handed me a transfer order. I was selected by the headquarters for a promotion due to my outstanding work performance. Congratulations, Kylie, the boss said with a smile. If there's any news from the headquarters in the future, be sure to give us a heads up. The transfer order came urgently, saying the headquarters was short-staffed and needed me to report as soon as possible. So at 9 a.m., I was still at the branch office, and by 10:30 a.m., I was standing at the headquarters entrance with a box in my arms. The front desk helped me swipe the elevator card, allowing me to go directly to the 26th floor. The overall atmosphere at the headquarters was much more serious, with most employees in a hurry. The Secretary General received me and said I was replacing an assistant who had just resigned. She handed me a folder almost half my height and asked me to get up to speed as soon as possible. Before leaving, she asked me one final question. Are you afraid of snakes? I blinked, momentarily speechless. She pushed open the tightly shut door to the CEO's office and pointed at the snake enclosure that occupied nearly 1/5 of the executive suite. Mr. James has a hobby of keeping snakes, and most of the time he takes care of them himself. But when Mr. James is away on business, you'll need to clean the enclosure, change the water, and feed the snake. In the snake enclosure, an adult black king snake curled up in a corner for a nap. Perhaps sensing someone's gaze, it flicked its tongue, suddenly straightened up, and turned its head to stare at me. I widened my eyes in disbelief, feeling a surge of blood rushing through my body. Even after all this time, I recognized it at a glance. This snake is Lucas. Even through the box, I could clearly sense Lucas's restlessness. It kept slithering around the snake enclosure, trying to find a way out. Seeing no signs of reluctance on my face, the Secretary General felt reassured and moved to close the door. Should we just leave it alone? I pointed at the active snake. It seems like it wants to come out. The box is well sealed. It can't get out, the Secretary General said casually. Besides, once you've been here longer, you'll realize this snake is very quiet. It mostly stays curled up in the corner. Can I interact with it a little? I asked. I've heard snakes can be wary of strangers, and I'd like it to get used to me as soon as possible. Seeing the Secretary General frown, I added, after all, it's Mr. James's beloved pet. It wouldn't be good if the snake got scared because of me. The Secretary General finally nodded. Alright, but many people have been coming and going in the office before. And I've never heard of it being scared by anyone. I was the only one left in the office. The snake was still restlessly wagging its tail, trying to escape, and even began hitting its head against the box. I walked over expressionlessly and stood in front of it. The snake's tongue slithered out through the ventilation hole, as if desperately trying to capture more of my scent molecules. What's the matter? Did you find a rich patron to live the good life, so now you look down on me? I ignored its urgency as a year's worth of pent-up unease, pain, and anger surged forth from my heart. I almost wished he were truly dead. At least then I could deceive myself into believing he had loved me. The facts are now clear. The headquarters is only 6 kilometers from my home, and with its capabilities, finding me would be a piece of cake. I gritted my teeth. Lucas, falling for you was my biggest mistake. I had only been at the headquarters for a week, and already spent the entire time cleaning up after Lucas, because Mr. James was away on a business trip. Apparently, the overseas branch had made a huge mess, and they were counting on the shrewd and capable Mr. James to clean it up. I change the water for Lucas every day, and Lucas tries to wrap around my hand every day too, but I don't even take it seriously, shaking it off without holding back at all. Once, a colleague accidentally saw it and was so shocked she nearly broke her heel. Honey, can you be gentler? If anything happens to this snake, our jobs are over. Don't worry, Mr. James is clearly a fair and reasonable leader. He won't take it out on you. I forced a laugh. It's just that this snake wraps around so tightly, I have to pull hard to get it loose. My colleague stared at Lucas, who was stuffed into a box yet still trying to lean toward me, attempting to rub his scales against me through the box. Their expression shifted from horror to astonishment. Honestly, I've been observing this snake for a year, and this is the first time I've realized that pet snakes can actually have preferences. They really do have favorite humans. I instinctively denied it. No way. I thought it was trying to strangle me. Really? My colleague, unfamiliar with snakes, was easily fooled by my explanation. The weekend arrived in the blink of an eye. On Saturday, I spent the whole day lounging at home. By Sunday, I couldn't stay idle any longer. Though I kept saying I was blind to have fallen for Lucas, I couldn't deny that I still had feelings for him. Even if he's just a snake, since we reunited, he has always been in snake form. I don't know what exactly happened to him that prevents him from turning back into human form to communicate with me. The office was quiet on the weekend. As I stepped out of the elevator, I immediately noticed the door to the CEO's office was slightly ajar. Who's inside? I walked over curiously and pushed the door open. A tall man stood with his back to me in front of the snake tank. I knocked on the door. Hello. He turned around, his gaze landing on my face. I paused for a moment and suddenly understood why Lucas couldn't take human form, because there was already a fully formed human version of Lucas. Both the man and the snake were staring intently at me, but perhaps I was too familiar with Lucas. Even after such a long time apart, it was hard to feel afraid. Even with a faint sense that I was about to uncover the truth, I felt somewhat more relaxed. Want to talk? I broke the silence first. Lucas was breathing heavily, his eyes blazing. In almost the blink of an eye, he was in front of me, holding me tightly. Strangling was in his nature. At that moment, I felt like his prey. Easy there. You're going to break my bones. I pushed him angrily, but his towering height of over 6 feet made him an immovable mountain to me. Not only that, if he wanted to, he could do whatever he pleased with me, including making hate. I desperately wanted to act like a chaste and virtuous woman, but the moment he touched my neck, I melted into a puddle. My body missed him no less than my soul did. I sobbed. Biting and hitting him at the same time, Lucas held me tightly, cradling me like a child as he walked around the office, soothing me with every step. By the time I finally calmed down, it was already dark outside. Lucas carried me to the snake tank, opened the lid, and affectionately nuzzled my cheek with the tip of his nose. I let out a soft hum and weakly extended my arm, allowing the snake, which had been protesting for a long time, to coil around it again. Wrapped in the snake's embrace and held by someone, I drowsily yawned. If I wake up and don't see you, I'll never forgive you for the rest of my life. Don't worry, there's no way I'll ever leave you again in this lifetime. I finally had a peaceful night's sleep. After waking up, I listened to Lucas explain things while eating. His original name was Jack, the heir to the James family conglomerate. the James family has a single lineage, coexisting with snakes. 2 years ago, he was in a car accident. Although his body was sent to the hospital, his consciousness was severely damaged and barely clung to a snake. In his dazed state, he accidentally switched places with my childhood friend's snake. I almost choked. I knew it. With 20 years of friendship between us, there's no way my childhood friend would give me a stupid snake as a gift. Jack looked at me, his face slightly red, probably realizing how foolish he had been before, and couldn't help but cough awkwardly. He's human, not just a simple snake, so naturally. Not all his behaviors would be exactly like a snake's, but by giving me his snake molt, he was showing that he likes me and wants to marry me. I accepted the snakeskin, which meant I agreed to his marriage proposal. I rolled my eyes. Your James family, still into forced sales and purchases. I had no idea what it meant when he gave me the snakeskin, and now I'm forcibly bound as his wife. Jack shamelessly said, well, you've bullied me so thoroughly, you have to take responsibility for me. I widened my eyes. Be reasonable. Who's bullying whom here? Clearly, it was you who started. What did I start? Jack asked knowingly. I stopped talking. Though I knew my relationship with Jack was a bit twisted, I couldn't outright admit to being a pervert myself. Don't change the subject. I steered the conversation back. You haven't come to see me for so long. Have you fallen for someone else? How could it be? Every member of the James family only has one partner in their lifetime. I would never change my heart. Jack said that when he stayed by my side, his consciousness came and went. It wasn't until I gave him a name and acknowledged his identity that he was finally able to take human form. Because he realized he was human, the body lying in the hospital also began to improve. But he still hasn't regained his memory, so he doesn't know his origins. He suddenly left later because his body had finally finished repairing itself. He didn't have time to say goodbye before his consciousness was pulled back. That's why he disappeared so completely. But after returning to his own body, he only vaguely remembered having a lover, yet could never recall my name or identity. It wasn't until that day in the office when I saw his serpent form and called out the name, Lucas, that all his memories finally came flooding back. So, if we hadn't met again by chance, you would never have remembered me in your entire life. I couldn't help but frown. I would have remembered gradually. Actually, recently I've been able to see your hands and lips clearly in my dreams. In your dreams, yes, I often dream about you. I didn't dare ask what he dreamed about. All that snake's brain could think about was either eating meat or eating me. If he dreamed of me, there's no way it was just innocent pillow talk. Jack gave me a snake-shaped ring, saying it was a token for the wives of the James family, after reuniting. The way we interacted also changed somewhat. The biggest change is, before he would cling to me everywhere and all the time, now he forces me to cling to him everywhere and all the time, because Jack gets jealous of his own snake body. After all, humans need work and social life. No matter how close we are, we can't stay together 24/7. But his serpent form can. To distinguish between them, the human form is called Jack, while the serpent form is called Lucas. Lucas doesn't possess Jack's intelligence, only some subconscious instincts, so ever since Jack and I reunited, it refuses to stay in the cage, constantly finding ways to coil around me every day. If Jack intentionally locks it up, it will keep bumping into the cage until it knocks itself out. And Jack will also faint. There was no other way. Jack had to go along with Lucas's wishes and let Lucas cling to me. Anyway, Lucas is very well behaved. As long as I pet it occasionally, it will obediently hide inside my clothes without being noticed. So Jack gets very jealous and always asks me, who do you like more, Lucas or Jack? I was held in Jack's arms, with the arrow on the string. Lucas was coiled around my waist, his tail restless. How dare I answer that question? I could only reply, I like both, yet the fate awaiting me was, if you like them both, then you can have them all, a man and a snake together. Truly, it was just too intense. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.